You're overthinking making friends in post-grad. And it's totally understandable to feel like you're the only one who has to make friends. You're the only one who's looking to make friends. Everyone has everything figured out. And I want to tell you that is not the case at all. And a lot of the things we worry about when it comes to making new connections are mostly in our head and are things we shouldn't even consider. Hi, my name's Noah. I'm a software engineer, a recent post-grad who recently moved to Pittsburgh. I'm exploring living in a new city, making new connections, decorating my apartment, and if any of that sounds interesting, you've found the right place. Today I'm going to be talking about making friends in post-grad, some common mistakes I think people make, as well as advice and solutions for people looking to make friends in a new city. Maybe you started a new job or are like me and recently graduated college and have found myself in a new city. So part one is to go where people are. Now, unfortunately, in this day and age, we each have a pocket-sized device that gives us dopamine whenever we want, and it's never been easier just to stay inside your apartment, to be fulfilled. But I think so many people are craving genuine human connection that can only be found through meeting and being friends with other people. And the way you do that is by getting out of the house and going where people are. This could be social clubs, sports leagues, the gym, your local basketball court, your local bar or club, things like that. Coffee shops are all great places to meet people and to get yourself out there. I think it's important to remember that every time you take that step and you put yourself out there, your chance of meeting people is no longer 0%. And there are so many people in cities and in different environments that are looking to make new connections, and it's so important to put yourself in a place where you can actually take advantage of that and you can meet new people. Now, this can sound transactional, but this in no way is meant to be something that's transactional. Like I said, there are so many people today that are looking to make friends and are craving connection, but a lot of times we just don't show it outwardly. No one wants to post on social media being like, I have nothing to do this weekend. So there's definitely people that are looking for that. You just have to put yourself in a position to meet those people and to make new friends. The next thing is to keep in mind, what type of friends are you trying to make? What is the friend you are looking for? Do you have the emotional availability for a best friend, or are you looking more for some casual friends that you can hit the bars with or go hiking on the weekends? It's important to understand what type of friendships you are looking for and the roles that different friends will play in your life. It took me a while to understand that there are different friends for different areas in your life, and different people fulfill different needs that you might need. Growing up, when I was looking for friendships, I was looking for my next best friend. And if I wasn't best friends with this person, it really felt like the relationship didn't have any meaning. But in college, I really got the understanding that there are different friends for different times. Your friends that you go party with on the weekends might not be your friend you tell about your breakup or when you're struggling with something. It's okay to have friends that aren't super deep. It's okay to have friends that don't like to do everything you do. It's really important to understand, again, different friends play different roles in your life. I think another thing that people struggle with when it comes to making friends and can hold people back is the fear of, well, what if these people don't want to be friends with me? What if I put myself out there and I'm rejected? This fear of rejection can really cripple people's ability to, put themselves out there. And I think overcoming this is very important in your journey of making new connections. It's totally okay for friendships not to pan out. It's totally okay for someone you thought that might be your best friend is not your best friend. Maybe they're just someone you're cool with for the first week of orientation, or when you started a new job, maybe you met someone that you thought, hey, I could totally be friends with this person, and it doesn't pan out, and that's totally okay. I think another thing to keep in mind, like I said earlier, is not every friendship is going to fulfill every role. You might think this person is going to be your next best friend and they don't end up being that. And maybe they're just someone that you grab coffee with every now and then. That's totally okay. But back to the rejection aspect of it, if someone doesn't want to be your friend, it's not a knock on you. Sometimes people just don't have the capacity or the emotional availability to make new friends. Maybe they already have a friend group established and they're not really looking to create create a new one with you. And I think it's important to keep in mind, like when you're making friends or trying to make friends, understand where these people are in their life and what they're looking for. I think it's also important to remember that a lot of times the people that you thought you were going to be best friends with early on might not end up being that person, but it might be someone that you totally wouldn't have seen being your closest friend ends up becoming that for you. So it's important to keep an open mind, be available, and just understand that it's part of life. You're not always going to end up with the person or be friends with the person that you thought you were going to be. Now, the next part, which I think is the most important one and often the one that we struggle with, is being the friend that we want to have. It's so easy to point at other people and be like, they're not asking me to hang out, we're not doing XYZ, when in reality, if you take some initiative and you send the text, hey, who wants to grab ice cream this weekend? Hey, who wants to go on a hike this weekend or next weekend? If you take those steps, often people want to do stuff, but they're just too either worried or, they don't want to bother people in asking to do something. So if you take the initiative, I feel like a lot of times you'll see that most people want to do something that weekend or want to hang out with you. You just have to take those steps. Another thing is being consistent. If you say you're going to go to something, show up. People will stop inviting you if they feel like they've invited you to a bunch of stuff and you never actually follow through with their plans, or you leave early, things like that. And it doesn't always have to be a big text or plan to do something that weekend. Sometimes just a simple "what's the move" text will be totally fine to get the conversation rolling and to get people planning stuff. Lastly, I think this is a little bit more abstract, but choose to be around people that you actually want to be friends with. I know it can be really hard when you first move somewhere to, look for connections, and I think you need to go through the phase of kind of hang out with different groups of people and really get a feeling for each of them. And once you have a little bit more insights, choose to be friends with people you would actually want to be friends with, because it's going to make planning and hanging out way easier when it's people that you actually want to be around and not just people you're forcing yourself to hang out with because, you think that's the right way to handle stuff. Again, this also makes it way less stressful when it comes to planning stuff when you actually have hobbies that align or interests that align. There are people with good character, things like that. Overall, I think that we put too much weight into what people think, and we care a lot about how we're perceived, and we don't want to come across as needing things. Everyone on social media wants to show the best version of their life, wants to show only when they're having a good time, and it can get this perception that no one needs anything and no one's looking for friends because people are always posting with different people they're hanging out with and things like that. But I feel like regardless of that, there is a desire for more connection and more time spent outside of just being on our phones and being at our jobs and things like that. So I think if you take some initiative, you put yourself out there, you take the risk, I think there's a lot of benefits and there's a lot of friendships and good times to be had on the other side of the fear aspect of it. And if you can get over that, I think you'll be good. If you take anything away from this video, be the person you would want to be friends with. And I think once you do that, everything else will fall in place when it comes to making connections. I think if you keep all of this in mind, it will hopefully be easier for you to navigate and make friends. As someone who's moved to a new city and has had to reestablish and make new friend groups, I've definitely been keeping these things in mind and have been trying to incorporate them with how I navigate. These are things to mentally be aware of, but in a day-to-day action, you don't need to be thinking about every single one of these things. But often I think we in our heads make making friends way more complicated than it needs to be. In reality, so many people are looking to make friends. I think you'll be okay. Be yourself, and like I said earlier, be the friend that you want to have. But yeah, that's all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, found this insightful or helpful. I will see you guys in the next video.